I love that song, and I could dance all day and all night to that song. All right, thank you all for being here. Every single one of you beautiful, unique human beings. I want you to look to your left, I want you to look to your right, and I want you to really take in the exquisiteness of the being in front of you. And this is what we're going to talk about for the next 50 minutes. Are your unique gifts that every single one of you have. Every one of us have extraordinary, beautiful gifts. And in this, if you have not completed the Culture Index assessment, and by the way, you don't have to. Don't feel obligated if you're not comfortable with it. If you want to and you haven't, I want to encourage you because I'm going to give you, we're going to pad a little bit of time. This is the QR code. You can scan it real quick. If you complete it, Madison in the back will hand it out. And I'm going to give y'all about 10 minutes to get that done, or a little bit less. And then we have quite a few of your results printed in the back that we have runners that we're going to distribute. So if you haven't, it's 2 questions, takes less than 10 minutes. Please go ahead and do that now. If you don't want to, that's okay. I'm going to give you some instructions as we go along so that you know what we are talking about. And before we go into what we measure and all of that, I want to come back to some of the notes in what was covered today. And by the way, y'all, I love the work I do. I freaking love it. My personal mission statement is that I believe every single one of you precious beings not only deserve, but have the right to do what you freaking love doing every single day unapologetically. Every day. So with that, I want to add a new line to purpose-driven companies. Be a purpose-driven person. Be a purpose-driven person. And when I'm saying that, identify what it is that your purpose is. Not for your partner, your spouse, your children, your parents, your employer, if you employ yourself. You do this for yourself because it is what you are deserving of, you beautiful humans. And I have one question. There are several in the audience who I've mentored or worked closely with, and you know the answer to this question, but I want to ask each of you. I'm going to ask you a very simple question, and I just want you to jot down what comes to mind. What do I love about myself? Not me. What do you love about yourself? But I want you to write it in the form of, what do I love about myself? What do I love about myself? What do I love about myself? All right, everybody write something down. Okay, I'm looking for one word. One word. Who can tell me what it is? Who can tell me what this word is? Yes, Julie. Everything. What I love about myself is everything. Truly, what I love about myself is absolutely everything. I don't like everything about myself. Some things I like better than others. But I absolutely, positively adore this being. And what I want to challenge each and every one of you to do is to think bigger, broader, wider than whatever it is you put down if you wrote down anything other than everything. Because there is no reason to not absolutely, positively love that beautiful being that you are and the vessel that carries you. Because it's all we've got, people. This is all we've got. One trip. Now, that doesn't mean you have to like it. But by God, let's love it. It's empowering. When we love self, we can love others so much more. And that allows us to be more of a purpose-driven person. Then the other thing that came to mind, Jay, by the way, can we give Jay Wilkinson, this amazing man, a round of applause? Because he is extraordinary in his own right. Yeah, so thank you for bringing us together and for just being who you are. So the 5 attributes of a do more good leader, or the superpowers. We had kindness, empathy, vulnerability, gratitude, love. Love. How can we convey love if we do not fully and completely love ourselves? So I wanted to tie that in. Vulnerability. This is, I was asking Ethan here, because I do a lot of work with students, interns, I coach, mentor, and I asked Ethan for some input. I said, Ethan, what do you believe it is that affects the interns? What is it that they received from going through an understanding of their inherent traits? And he said, the opportunity to be vulnerable with their employers, for them to understand their own inherent behaviors and put voice to that, to be able to communicate with what they need, want, and desire. Vulnerability. So, we're going to talk more about these things. And everyone, you should have that graph in front of you. If you don't, we'll get that to you in just a second. What we're going to talk about is applied behavioral analytics. Applied behavioral analytics. And in the work that I do, I work with companies all over the country, mostly in Nebraska, but I do have clients all over. And there are measurable traits that each and every one of us have. And what I'm going to share with you, I want to state something a bit differently than what Jay shared earlier. I am not here to tell you anything about yourself that you do not already know. As a matter of fact, you have been so gracious and so kind that you have actually allowed me to know who you are by completing the survey. What I am good at is putting language to it. Our voice is the most powerful tool that any one of us have. Language is incredibly powerful, and we underutilize it on a regular basis, the people I work with. So thank you very much for allowing me to put language to your own traits. I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't know about yourself already. I'm just going to give you words. So there are 7 measurable traits. I'll tell you more about what those are in just a moment. But here's the power, and this is what I want us to get so excited about as you leave here today. And I hope I don't leave you asking more questions, but just starting on a journey or a path that is so aligned with who you are. And when we can understand our traits, that allows us the opportunity to go into understanding how to live in our strengths. Live in your strengths. Who's familiar with Marcus Buckingham's work? He changed my life when he came to Lincoln. Do y'all remember when he spoke? Yes. How many years ago was that? Eons. And we were sitting there, I think we were still digital IMS at the time, in the auditorium, and I just was like, holy mackerel, this is genius. Live in your strengths. Who cares about your weaknesses? And what he has found through his lifetime of work is that when we live in our strengths, when we focus on the zone of genius, or whatever it is we're naturally good at, it actually offsets our weaknesses. And we can contribute to this world in a more meaningful way. So those of you, which I know there's a good percentage in the room, who are always working on your weaknesses, I want to improve, I want to be better at this. Well, I'm going to say forget about it. It takes you away from joy and the joy that you live every single day. So what this thing is, these little dots, what Culture Index is, it really is a tool that allows us to better understand behaviors in individuals. Y'all, we are some complicated individuals. And we do not come with little cheat sheets that we can just hand to someone and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I need, this is how I prefer to be communicated with, this is what motivates me, this is what demotivates me. Oh, by the way, these are my love languages, right? We don't come with that. Well, wouldn't it be amazing if we did have like a little pack of trading cards that we could exchange with our spouses, partners, lovers, mistresses, girlfriends, boyfriends, children, parents? How many of you have parents and you just feel like they cannot understand who you are or what you need or what you want? Put your hands up. Yeah, we're just complicated creatures. So this tool and what we do, it allows us to put language to that so we can understand self and others better. And with this, it helps us make managing, whether it's ourselves, our family, or the people around us, or the people we work with, more easier, more effective, efficient, effortless, right? We can reduce a lot of misunderstandings. It's straightforward, it's candid. And by the way, do I have permission to be candid and direct? Okay, and those of you that are watching virtually. And when I ask that, those of you that work closely with me know that that is not a pleasantry. I'm a very direct and candid human being. So Culture Index allows us to turn the intangible aspects of humans into a tangible form. What this is not, it's not a test. It's not a test. Why would we not ever refer to these little dots on that paper as a test? There is no pass or fail when it comes to a human being. There is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong. Well, there are some people who do bad things, but that's not what we're talking about here. We don't measure IQ. We don't measure learning curve identifier. We don't measure ambition. There are some of you that I actually know that regardless of the cost to your own well-being, when you make your mind up to do something, you will do it at all costs. We don't measure that. Also, we don't measure anything clinical or abnormal. We just measure 7 inherent traits, and there's a lot of nuance in that. And are we ready up here? Okay. Madison's got the mic, and she's going to call your name. If you would just put your hand up in the air, we have runners that are going to bring the assessment to you. All right.
To self-regulate. And it's awareness of others and the ability to inspire.
Aiden.
Manage.
Aiden, move on.
At its core.
Paige.
Intelligent connection.
Over here.
Key to making a people-first mindset more
Beth.
philosophy. It's what makes it real. Because when leaders cultivate deep, authentic relationships, they don't just build strong teams, they build legacy. So I invite you now to think about your integration.
Oh.
Your happy success.
Jack is right here with me.
Sorry, camera. Like this, you can be inspired, feel great. But if you don't do anything with it, it really doesn't mean much. So here's your opportunity.
Amber D.
I invite you to scan the QR code.
Amber D. It's not here.
So that you can explore your own happy success journey.
Right here.
You can take the quiz and score yourself, and you also can get it.
Oh, way over here. Dorothy.
Inspiration to take action.
Marcus. So good to see you.
Back to business as usual, and hope things change. Or
Is that Ava Gardner?
today,
Brooke G.
that success no longer has to be a grind. Or you can decide right now, today,
G.
that for you, success is no longer going to be a grind. It's going to be effortless and fulfilling.
Kim K.
The leaders who thrive in this next era,
Oh, yeah.
all the things.
Tad L.
We'll just assign new names here.
Kathleen O.
Intelligent connection. The world is at a tipping point.
Devin S.
Burnout's at an all-time high. Leaders are exhausted.
Jeff S.
Companies are struggling. Not because,
Devin is over here in case we missed that.
but because they lack consciousness.
Jeff S. is here.
This isn't just about leadership. It's
Nizoni.
about your leadership and what you're willing to do differently to navigate this era of transformation.
Mike, Z or C? Z is in zebra. Mike.
Believe in your ability to live a life.
All right, thank you.
But
For those of you that if you change your mind, you want to complete this assessment, we will print it and have it for you by the end of the day.
Leaders.
All right, let's get this party started. Are we ready? Okay.
Companies
So something that is really interesting to me as I stand before you in this pink suit, which I've had quite a few compliments on. Thank you so much. There are some of you that love this, and some of you are like, "Ooh, that's a bit much. I'd like to wear something like that, but I don't know if I could." Some of you are like, "That is just really obnoxious." I purchased this suit after a fire, like 4 days after a fire, because I had an event to go to, and it was the only thing I found that would fit in the time that I had. And it was amazing. Now, someone made a Barbie reference to me earlier, which is fantastic, and I love the Barbie movie. But I want to be very clear. I, growing up, did not play with Barbie dolls. Ever. They were boring. I absolutely detested when my mother would take me over to a friend's house, and all they had to play with were Barbie dolls, because I was a tomboy. I wanted to play with John Deere tractors, race cars, trucks, dump trucks. I wanted to go outside, dig in the dirt, and I wanted to climb trees. Now, by looking at me, would any of you ever suspect that I'm a tomboy? So it's funny, some of you who know me really well are like, no, I am. I love hard labor work. But you're making an assumption by just looking at me. And y'all, we do this all the time, with the people that are in our worlds and our lives. So, first and foremost, let's not do that anymore. And let's really dig into understanding our personality and who people are, the people that work with us, that live with us, that we love, so we can become a purpose-driven person. So our personality, these are emotional qualities. For the most part, y'all, we are fully baked by the time we are 8 to 12 years of age. I'm not going to say we never change over the course of our lifetime. That is entirely too strong. But it's rare that we completely change our beliefs, our values, our morals over the course of our lifetime. We can expand and modify, but we don't necessarily change. And research is saying that it's actually closer to 3 that we are fully baked. And those of you that have children know when they came out of the womb, their little personalities were present pretty quickly. Some were easy, laid back, the little babies. Some of them were a little more difficult, more challenging. You might have been one of those individuals. So personality, who we are, how we act, how others see us, it's what differentiates us from other human beings. Our personality is enduring over time. Now that compared to our behaviors, we modify. Can we modify our behaviors? You bet. Y'all are modifying right now. Look how studious and attentive y'all are being. It's delightful. But I really want to encourage you to have joy and be playful and have fun and respond and react and let your beautiful essence just come out of that being of yours, because it's fantastic. Well, we modify our behaviors oftentimes based on the expectations that others have of us. We modify in our work, right? Because expectations are in place of what we should be, how we should behave, how we should act. We modify based on what our parents expect of us, and on down the list. So let's talk about these little dots that are in front of you. First and foremost, this little assessment is what we call a self-report inventory. You self-reported based on your own traits. This is what we call a free choice format. It is a free choice stimulus-based format. I could explain all of the science to you, but we don't have time for that today. But there's a lot of science that goes into these assessments. It's computer scored and analyzed, and not only that, it is actually compared to the general populace. So look at your sheet, and for those of you that did not complete the assessment, I'm going to have you play along because I want you first to make an arrow on your sheet of paper. And as I go through and I start discussing the traits, and I'm going to give some adjectives, why don't you just be playful and track your own, where you believe your traits land based on what I'm sharing with you. So you get to create your own culture index. This will be fantastic. And if you're curious, we can validate that against an actual one to see how close you are. It's a game I play with most people I meet because it's the work that I do. So when you look at that graph, you have 2 graphs. Look at the one on top. This is where we're going to spend most of our time, y'all. The one on top, look at your own, your personal results. That graph on top represents inherently who you are. Who you are. This, for the most part, does not change over time. Stays the same. That lower graph says job behaviors. Now that does change. This is how you perceive you need to modify the behavior for the position you are in at the time you completed this assessment. Now there are a few of you, I think from Firespring and others, if you didn't complete it recently, we pulled your old data. But the top graph is who you are. That's where I really want y'all to focus your time. The bottom graph is telling us if you need to modify your behavior for the role you're in. It does change. That lower graph can change based on what you're working on. Okay, this is the next piece you need or may want to take notes on. These are the 7 traits we measure. A, that red dot, autonomy. We are measuring the degree of autonomy a human being has. B, the yellow dot, social ability. Social ability. C, that dark blue is, it says up here pace, but I want you to write down patience. Patience. D, that green dot, conformity. We are measuring the degree of conformity that a human being has. And then those 4 traits, y'all, there's so much nuance in how they come together, and we don't have time to go into all the nuances, so I'm going to speak a bit more to the extremes. Oh, sorry. EU. That little, see those 2 letters, EU, and then there's a number next to it. What we're measuring is energy units, the degree of mental stamina a human has. What's the degree of mental energy? Not physical energy, but mental. And then coming below the line, that L, the purple dot, we're measuring logic. What's the degree of logic that you as a human being use in and around making your decisions? And then I, that light blue, we're measuring ingenuity. Not intelligence, we don't measure that. Ingenuity. Are you more literal in interpretation of things and events? Right? Black is black, white is white. Or are you more abstract, more conceptual? That's what we're measuring. All right, so let's go in a little deeper. So you'll notice that red arrow. Look at your top graph, that red arrow. That is called your normative. If you look to your left or right, you'll see that others' arrows have moved. That is your normative. If we put a sigma bell curve right over the top of it, that's the center of your bell curve. For the traits A, B, C, and D, those little dots, okay, we are not looking at the number that they land on. What we're looking at is how close those traits are to normative or how far away they are. Are they close or are they far? And Jay, you know what? I left Rand's printout up on that table. Would you mind grabbing that for me? Okay. The closer your little dots are to that red arrow, the more behaviorally flexible you are, the less obvious your traits are. The further those dots move away, the more apparent, the more obvious.
Pretty far away.
Not too far, not too far. Okay, so it's a ruler, not a scorecard. And the dots, make sure you capture this, that are on the right side of the arrow are what we call high traits, and the dots that land on the left side are what we call low traits. Y'all, not good or bad, not right or wrong. High, low. Thank you very much for your help with that. All right, and I'm not going to go too deep here. When we actually capture the traits, we compare you to the general population. Because it isn't that we just have, say, for example, high autonomy. Is it somewhat high? Is it very high? Is it extreme? I happen to have extremely high autonomy. That means it's a lot more difficult for me to rein that in. It's pretty obvious. If you interact with me for 60 seconds, you're probably going to guess that. Versus if I had somewhat high autonomy, you may not know that as quickly. I'm a little more flexible. So it isn't good or bad. It just helps us understand how we compare to the general populace. So let's dive in, shall we? And we're going to start with the A trait. In this room, and because we don't have time to go into all the nuance, we're going to do extremes. So if you have red dot furthest to the right, Put your hand up in the air. It is your highest trait. Okay, look around the room. These are all of our highly autonomous human beings. Thank you. Put your hands down. These are some intense, amazing human people. Human beings. So autonomy comes from Latin. Auto, which means what? Self. Nomos, which means what? Govern. What is the degree of self-governance a human being has? Those who have higher autonomy just naturally, inherently tend to be more strategic humans. Y'all look to the future. It's very difficult to be in the present. Where do you think Jay Wilkinson is? Where do you think Rand Stagen's A is? High. Right? Visionary, strategic, future-oriented human beings. These people are independent. Those of you that have high autonomy, you have to be responsible for your destiny. You know that. It is important to you. You want to be responsible for yourself and not leave it to someone else. That can be a bit obnoxious on occasion, by the way, for someone who has this trait. This is a forward thinking, always looking to the future. Team leaders. We oftentimes see individuals who have high autonomy in a position of team leadership. Why do you think that is?
Follow somebody else or wait for someone else.
They are not going to follow someone else. They are not going to wait for someone else. And so how do you avoid that? You get yourself in a position of leadership, so you're telling others what to do and you're not being told what to do. Y'all, there is truth in this. You do not have to have high autonomy, however, to be a team leader. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm sharing is because these are such independent human beings, they gravitate to those positions because they want to be responsible for their destiny. Now, what I want you to write down here, whether it's for yourself or for someone else, this trait, the primary motivator for individuals who have autonomy as their highest trait, they play to win. You play to win. Success. Now, oftentimes there's a misunderstanding of this trait. Don't ever assume that we know what winning or success looks like to these humans. And those of you, put your hands up again, who has autonomy as your highest trait. Okay, I want to give you a money phrase. Why are you laughing, Phil? So, because what did I say is the most powerful tool we have? Our voice. And we tend to not use it. So for those of you that have a high autonomy, what I want you to ask yourself in your world, in this situation, in your work, in your personal relationships, what does winning look like to me in this situation? What does success look like to me in this situation? Oh, that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. Now you can articulate that to those around you so they know the game that you are playing instead of making assumptions. Because let's be honest, those of us that have higher autonomy, we can come across as assholes on occasion, especially if we have no social ability. Because we're driven, we push. It is better to beg forgiveness than ask permission in this trait, so others can misunderstand. Use your voice. This is the game I'm playing. This is what success looks like to me in this situation. It's beautiful. All right, so individuals with low autonomy, put your hands up. Look around the room. Look at these beautiful human beings, servant's heart, right here. You, gorgeous humans, have a servant's heart. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to support you. Just tell me what you need. These are our soldiers. These are our workhorses. These are the individuals that are very present. High autonomy is a future-oriented trait. Low autonomy is present to past. Have I seen it? Have I felt it? Have I experienced it? If I haven't, that does not feel safe to me, and it can be difficult to move forward. For these individuals who have high autonomy as their highest trait, do you think they need to see it, feel it, experience it? Hell no. They're going to build the plane as it's taking off. I'm being dramatic with that, but low autonomy, it is really important for you to understand how to use your voice to ask for what you want, what you need. This is a tactical trait versus strategic. You look at the pieces that are in front of you and how can you reorganize them and put them together in the way for the best outcome. You're responsive. You respond to what you're being asked for. You're responsive. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you want. I am here to serve and support you. I need and appreciate specificity. How do individuals with high autonomy feel about specificity? Say again? Ugh. Ugh. Seriously. I mean, ugh. And if we are looking at our lives, whether it is personal or professional, we see a breakdown in a regular basis between high autonomy and low autonomy. What do individuals with high autonomy tend not to give to other people? Direction, specificity. As a matter of fact, this is how it kind of sounds. Ethan, I'm going to pick on you for a moment. Hey, Ethan, we need this new initiative at the Foundry, and you've been here long enough. You've got this figured out. Here, yeah, this is kind of what I'm thinking. You've got this. Run with it. He's uncomfortable as he's just. I can see you're uncomfortable. I am not setting this young man up for success. He hasn't seen it, felt it, touched it, experienced it. I've just asked him to take on responsibility and risk. That makes him really uncomfortable. Shame on me. We need to see people, right? Make sure they feel seen and heard so we can give them what they need. Our individuals with autonomy, you are the team players. It's always about the team, the collective group. How is this going to affect my team, my family, my friends? Your prefer decisions to be made through consensus versus through dictating. How do highly autonomous humans make decisions? I heard swiftly. What else? By the seat of their pants. Other traits can affect that. Oh, someone took offense to that. Autonomously. Thank you, Mr. Rose. Right? Okay. I hear what you guys are saying. That's a stupid idea. I'm going to do it my way. I'm being dramatic, but highly autonomous humans can get input, but they're comfortable taking the responsibility of the choice and decision they made. Very different processing. And low autonomy is present thinking. Y'all are so beautiful in the present. We're high autonomy humans. And where are they, Jack? 2050. They might not even be on this planet, right? There are other traits. That is their superpower, and that is their gift. Our individuals who have lower autonomy, your superpower and your gift is to be present, is to get and put into play the ideas that others are creating, right? One is not better than the other. What happens if we have too many highly autonomous individuals in an organization? Y'all are too quick to answer that. Nothing gets done. There could be a lot of ideating, a lot of vision, right? Lots of ideas. But who's executing? What happens if we have too many individuals who have lower autonomy on a team? Stagnation or lack of innovation. So it's not that one is better than the other, y'all. It is know how we can blend our collective personalities for the greatest outcome. Like each of you are this beautiful, magical thread. Every one of you. And how can we weave those threads together to build and create an incredible fabric? Oh, it's amazing. And you get to live in your place of strength and your zone of genius while you're doing that. That's what we're working on, right? Highly autonomous humans, sometimes they've been told their whole life, you're too assertive, you're too aggressive, you need to pull back. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. Not gonna happen. I tried not to say that word. It happened anyway. And I work with individuals who have lower autonomy, and all they want is to be more assertive. They want that. Why? Live with who and what you are, because it is beautiful. All right, let's talk about UB's social ability. I like to talk about this trait not as extrovert and introvert. I really wish we could eliminate you're either an extrovert or an introvert in our society, because there isn't anything that is further from the truth. There are a lot of you in this room who absolutely, positively get energy from other humans, but you would never describe yourself as an extrovert. There are some of you in this room who have a lower degree of social ability. You prefer your own company, but you wouldn't necessarily say you're a full-on introvert. Does anyone resonate with either of those statements? Okay, so let's talk about social ability. Who in the room? B is your highest trait. It is furthest to the right. Look around. Yeah, look at all you highly social ability humans. Okay, put your arms down. Thank you. These are the beings in this world who are actually drawn to the mission and purpose of this work. You want to have impact on other people, on this planet, on this world, and work, whatever it is. Those of you that have high social ability just naturally, intrinsically, are outgoing, optimistic. Those of you that have lower social ability, I want you to really hear this, are highly social individuals naturally, inherently see the good in everything. They are optimistic, and y'all don't understand why you think there's something wrong with them. Right? Like, how can you always be so positive? Can you not see the wheels are falling off this bus? Someone resonated with that. They don't. And thank goodness, right? They bring rays of sunshine and joy into our lives. Charismatic, you highly social bees are charismatic human beings. You're outward thinking. These are our verbal processors. They're inductive reason thinkers. If they're talking, they are thinking. If they're thinking, they're talking. And sometimes that can drive some others, analytical deductive reason thinkers, crazy, because you're like, oh my gosh, you could have said that in one sentence. Why are you still talking? Why are they still talking? Because they're thinking. They're processing. Now, for those of you that have this trait, your voice is powerful. Articulate that. I'm a verbal processor. Sometimes I need someone as a sounding board, so as I'm just spitballing here, please know this is not commitment to action. I'm just working through my thoughts. How many of you in this room resonate with that? Yes, but don't use that language for people to understand what's happening in your brain. Use your voice. This is what's going on. I'm a verbal processor. And I am feeling-based. Feeling. You have an exquisite superpower, you individuals with high social ability. You feel, you're intuitive, you're empathy. You feel energy in space and place. As you arrived here, could you feel the energy as you stepped in the building? Right? You feel the positive, you feel the negative, whether it's with people or spaces. It's real. And how many of you, when you have that intuition, you have that feeling, and you say to someone, oh my gosh, this just doesn't feel right, or I don't think that's a good decision, doesn't feel good, and you're dealing with someone who's a very logical, fact-based person who has no feelings, they're a heartless bastard, and like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Feelings, feelings, feelings. How many in this room have experienced that at some point in your life? Yes. And it isn't that one is better than the other. It's how do we give respect to both and bringing them. Because intuition is powerful. It is powerful. But also data is powerful. How do we identify what is the best that we need? Well, we have to communicate what's happening. And for those of you that have high B, it is your highest trait, and you're interacting with others around you and really finding your place of empowerment. You need to share with others, right? I am a feeling-based human. Feelings. I go to how something feels for me versus thinking. And you most often, when you are trying to express thoughts, you use the word, I am feeling this way about that. And if someone asks you what you are thinking, There is a deliberate pause that happens in your psyche where you translate your emotions into words so you can articulate what you are thinking. Isn't that the craziest thing? And if we ask these low B people, this is where we're going to go next, put your arms up. All you introspective, cerebral human beings, you're skeptical of everything I'm saying right now, this very moment. I know it, and it's A-okay. So, these are our thought-based human beings, and if I ask one of my favorite humans right over here, Miss Roxanne, how are you feeling? Immediately she's thinking, fine. But if I ask her what her thoughts are, she will immediately tell me what's going through her mind. So when we have individuals who have low social ability, we always want to ask, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts? If we are working with individuals who have high social ability, we want to ask, like Rand, if I want to know what's going on with Rand, I would ask him how he's feeling about things versus what he's thinking. So, low social ability, you beautiful human beings are naturally reserved, you're guarded, you're introspective. Where high Bs are naturally optimistic, you are pessimistic, skeptical. You are direct in your communication, you're blunt, it just doesn't occur to you to do it any other way. And you really do not appreciate these over-friendly, bubbly human beings coming up to you. Terrifying, what do you want from me? Is one better than the other? No. It is simply understanding who you are and being able to live in that. And our low social patterns are oftentimes misunderstood because you are direct, blunt communicators. Sometimes you might be asked, do you have a heart in there? Because you can come across as insensitive and uncaring. When that is not the case at all, is it? It's that you simply do not show your emotions. But you feel, and you feel deeply. Okay, we're going to zip through the C trait because this is actually a vector, y'all. It is not a trait, but it sounds very strange if I said we measure 6 traits in one vector, Victor. So, the C trait, all of you who have C on the high side, put your hands up. Oh my gosh, look at you patient human beings. I wish I could take some of that because I have none. These individuals are just naturally patient humans that are methodical. Y'all love routine. You do not love balls flying at yourselves. You don't like it. Use that to share with those that you work and live with. I want to see my task through from beginning to end. I don't really appreciate being interrupted. Don't throw all those things at me. It doesn't feel good. Now, those of you with low patience, put your hands up in the air. I'm going to do a double because mine's extremely low. Yeah, look at all these impatient humans. All right, well, that's another story. Y'all are just impatient. When Jay was talking about kindness earlier, like when someone cuts you off, well, you were probably the people that are cutting someone off that you're hoping that gratitude and kindness will be expressed to. But in these people, those of you that have a low C, you must have variety in your life and your work. If you are in a place and space and time where you are doing highly repetitive work, that is sucking the soul from your ever-loving being. Who just said, uh-huh? Yeah, yuck. That is no good. Own this. Know this in yourself. I need variety. That means you can work on one thing, you easily pivot over here, you work on something else, and you come back over here. But also be mindful in this pace and variety that you juggle balls, spin up plates, that can seem like chaos to others. So use your voice. This is how I work. Because someone who has a high degree of patience is looking at you like you're batshit crazy. Right? All right, the D trait, highly conforming humans. Put your hands up. Oh, what? That is a very few amount of people in this room. All right, so all of you that did not put your hand up, I want you to just look around and I want you to say these words after me. Thank you. Thank you for keeping us safe. Because that's what these highly conforming humans do if it is their highest trait. High D. You beautiful human beings are motivated by the fear of being wrong, and you rarely are. because you are driven to get data, facts, and information to make sure that you are doing something perfectly. You keep the rest of us safe, right? Our individuals with high conformity are detailed, historical in reference. Love controls, rules, processes. Thank you, because I hate that shit. And the rest of you do too. Put your hands up. My low Ds, put your hands up in the air. Oh my gosh. These are the rule benders, breakers. Rules are made for a reason, but they're for other people, maybe not for me. Situational. Oh yeah, Mr. Murph, of course. So, low Ds, low conformity. We drive you highly conforming humans batshit crazy because we do not have natural attention to detail, the minutia, the weeds. We're not the best at following through on things. You have to remind us because every day is a new day. Low conformity does not want to be put into a box. You're not going to tell me about a box that I need to be in because what's going to happen if I put that person in a box? What happens if you have to be in a box, you low-conforming humans? No more box. You are coming out of it. You're tearing it down. Is that right? Is that wrong? Absolutely not. But why would we ever, as a human, as a low-conforming human, want to be in a position or a role where we're expected to behave like a highly conforming human with details, minutiae, right? Know yourself. Look at these traits so that you can understand. You can continue to try to improve your attention to detail, but what I would encourage you to do is offload that to someone else. Have someone else support you. All right, the L trait, we're going to go very quickly. L, logic. Do you use emotion in making decisions? Are you a highly logical human? Those of you that have logic from 0 to 2, you have emotion. You make decisions based on emotion. You are emotionally charged. Those of you in the normative range draw in emotion and logic, making decisions. And those of you that are high logic, 8 to 10, which I am, well, we seem to be insensitive, uncaring humans because we do not allow emotion to come into our play when we are making decisions. We're highly logical humans, and that can be interpreted as being insensitive and uncaring. The I trait, ingenuity. If you're on the lower end of ingenuity, 0 to 3, you are more literal in interpretation of things and events. You're more accepting, you're more adaptable. If you go up the spectrum and you have ingenuity of 7, 8, 9, you see the world in a way that the rest of us don't. It's amazing. But you can overcomplicate things for yourselves because you can't stop the ideas that come into that beautiful brain of yours. And your ingenuity typically lives in your highest trait. So was it your conformity? Was it your social ability? Is it your autonomy? It manifests differently. Now, EU, yes, Murph?
Is it your highest trait or your most pronounced trait?
Highest, furthest to the right. Well, on the L and I is on a 0 to 10. That's a scorecard. Yeah. Okay, EU, mental stamina. And I will pull this up here in a minute. We're not talking about job behaviors today, and this is where this becomes most beneficial because we didn't have time to go as deep. If you want to, we're going to do an open session, Madison and I. She's going to be sending that out. If you want, we're just going to do kind of this format on understanding the modification in your job behaviors. All right? Because that's what we use the EU for. What we're looking at is whether or not you're living in your strengths or if you're modifying your behavior. And that's what that second graph tells us. So, optimal alignment, when we're looking at what we're creating here, is understand who you are, what your strengths are, unapologetically, what your weaknesses are. You don't need to rationalize that. Just freaking own it. So then you can identify what is my purpose? Knowing your strengths, what's my purpose? What brings me joy every single day? And then go find the role where you can apply that. whether it's in your own company, whether it's in volunteering, whether it's part of the Do More Good movement, right? So, our takeaways from what we've covered today: understand your strengths. Period. Just understand them, live in them, embrace them so you can maximize your own return on investment. It is what you are deserving of. Live in your strengths unapologetically. Don't use them as a crutch. Don't weaponize them, but just live in it. You deserve this. And live the life you are deserving of. Y'all have no idea how many humans I work with on a weekly basis who have spent a lifetime doing something they didn't enjoy, wasn't fulfilling. Why? We don't have to do that. Someone shared with me a while back when I said, you know what, everyone should have the opportunity to do what they love doing and are great at every day. And this individual said to me, well, everybody has to do something that they're not good at and don't like doing. And I said, why? And that individual responded, well, because that's the way it's done. And I said, that is archaic thinking. We do not need to spend one moment doing something for a long term that does not feed us and fulfill us, that we are not good at. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because you deserve more than that. So go forth, be a person who has your own purpose. Thank you all so much.